What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another schedule preview and record prediction video, and today we're going to be going through the 2020 Iowa State Cyclones. So Iowa State, a team that's always pretty decent, usually 7-5, 8-4, maybe even 9-3, pretty much every single year since Matt Campbell has been there. Iowa State is returning a lot on the offensive side. They're returning their quarterback, Brock Purdy, their running back, Breece Hall, who I think does not get talked about enough, could be a 1,000-yard rusher. And then their tight end group possibly could be the best in college football. You got Chase Allen and Charlie Kohler there. Both those guys are one of the better positions at the tight end. But their wide receivers, they need some help. They need some guys to step up if they're going to be a really, really great team. Their defense is pretty decent as well, but they definitely have to play at a new level if they're going to compete in the Big 12, which is going to be better than a lot of previous years. So let's see if Iowa State can get on top of the Big 12, or if not enough guys are going to be able to step up for the Cyclones. So here is the schedule for Iowa State. You look down there, their 2019 record was 7-6. So they went 7-5 in the regular season, almost had some upsets, or almost upset some pretty good teams that include Iowa and Oklahoma, but 7-5 in the regular season. And then their sixth loss came to Notre Dame in their bowl game, in which they got absolutely smashed. Notre Dame controlled pretty much the entire game. It wasn't even close. Iowa State is going to improve from where they were last year. Their schedule is pretty difficult, and we'll look into that in a minute. But first, their home games are going to be in red, and their away games are going to be in the gold and yellow. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at their schedule. And there's no better place to start in the first game of the season, which is going to be against South Dakota. It's going to be a nice get-off game for the Cyclones. They shouldn't really have a problem with this one. This game going to be an easy win for the Cyclones. It'll be a nice get-off game to see what needs work and where they're at overall with their talent. Then they get a road game against Iowa. This one is very close for me. It's really up in the air. I could see this game going either way. Iowa State is definitely the more talented team than Iowa, but they have to play the Hawkeyes on the road, and that's never easy. No matter how good or how bad Iowa is, they're always hard to play at home. Iowa is losing a lot though. Iowa is losing their quarterback Nate Stanley, defensive end AJ Epinesa, offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs. They're losing so much talent. Iowa State is returning so much talent. But the fact that they have to play Iowa on the road really makes this a 50-50 game for me. This game really could go either way. I'm looking forward to watch this game. It's going to be more competitive, I believe, than in previous years. Yes, it's still been very competitive, and they've had some close games, but overall just way more competitive because the talent level of Iowa State is at a whole new level this year. Again, I could see this one going either way, though. Then it's a home game against UNLV. Cyclones also shouldn't have trouble with this one. UNLV, she didn't know, stands for the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. Have not been good for a long time. Iowa State should easily roll in this one. Then they get the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So everyone is thinking that Texas Tech's quarterback could be one of the better ones in the Big 12. But when you look at the overall talent surrounding him, it's not all that great. Brock Purdy has a lot more talent surrounding him than at Texas Tech. So the Cyclones should have no problem with the Red Raiders. Then they get a road game against Kansas. So Kansas is a team, of course, now coached by Les Miles. They have some good talent. Their defense needs to improve a lot. The offense has some pretty good playmakers, though. But I think we still got to give Les Miles a couple more years before Kansas can start competing with teams in the Big 12. And until then, Iowa State should easily roll over Kansas. Then it's a road game against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This one is going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to come down to the running game, which team can run the football better, and then which defense can stop the other team's run game. Both teams need help at wide receiver. The difference might be Iowa State's tight ends, but home field advantage for the Cowboys, and I don't care what you say or what team you are, home field advantage is home field advantage. It's going to be a hard game for Iowa State to win. I see the Cowboys winning this one. If Iowa State can stop the run and stop Chuba Hubbard and LD Brown, maybe Iowa State has a shot. But as of right now, I think Oklahoma State is just more talented on the defensive side and more equipped to handle what Iowa State can throw at them. So I'm going to give the Oklahoma State Cowboys the win in this one. Then it's a home game against the Oklahoma Sooners. So this could be an upset alert game for Oklahoma. I talked about it in my Oklahoma video. Definitely could be a game that I could see Oklahoma losing. Iowa State has the pieces to slow down Oklahoma. But right now, I'm giving Oklahoma the win. I definitely think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a very close, competitive Big 12 type game. But I think Oklahoma is just more equipped on defense. The Sooners are going to win this game. Iowa State definitely has a shot. They have way more experience than Oklahoma does on the offensive side, and Iowa State's going to score some points in this game. But overall, I don't think they're going to be able to score enough points. Lincoln Riley always has a very explosive offense. So I'm going to give the Sooners the early edge in this one. All right, so then they get their bye week. I think this is a pretty good spot for a bye week. It's after Oklahoma, which is nice. So you get a rest after what could be a tough game. You'd probably like to have it a week earlier, right after Oklahoma State. And then you get an extra week to prepare for Oklahoma. But this is a fairly decent spot for a bye week nonetheless. Then it's another home game, and it's going to be a Thursday game, and they're going to be playing the Kansas State Wildcats. So, of course, I've talked about it in other Big 12 videos. Kansas State was the only team to give Oklahoma a regular season loss last year. Kansas State still has some good talent. Of course, Skylar Thompson is still going to be their quarterback, and he's a pretty underrated quarterback in my opinion. Probably not going to do as good as he did last year just because the overall talent surrounding him is decreasing. Kansas State's defense is also taking some blows. So I see Iowa State being able to beat Kansas State pretty easily in this one. Then they get a road game against TCU. So this is going to be a trap game for Iowa State. TCU is going to improve. Of course, Gary Patterson's always going to have a good defense, going to be able to stop Charlie Kohler and Chase Allen. Going to be able to stop both of those guys. Breece Hall probably won't be able to do as much as he would against other defenses. TCU's defense is still pretty good, one of the better ones in the Big 12. TCU's offense needs work, though, and it's why I think Iowa State's going to be able to just barely squeak one out in this one. It's going to be a close game. TCU's hard to play at home, just like Iowa is. It's going to be a fun game to watch, but I'm going to give the Cyclones the early win here in this one. Then it's a home game against Baylor. So Baylor's losing a lot. They're losing lots of coordinators. They're also losing their head coach, Matt Rule. He went to go coach in the NFL at the Carolina Panthers. They're bringing in Dave Aranda, who was an old defensive coordinator at LSU. So Baylor's defense should be fairly decent next year, but it's their offense that worries a lot of Baylor Bears fans. Of course, Denzel Mims is going to be gone. You have Charlie Brewer coming back, but he's going to have to find a guy not named Denzel Mims to rely on. And they have to play Iowa State on the road. In other words, Iowa State gets to play Baylor at home, which I think is big for the Cyclones. It could be a better game than I'm thinking right now, but right now I see Iowa State easily winning this one. It's late in the season, so maybe Baylor can get a lot of pieces in place by this time. But for right now, I'm going to give Iowa State the easy win here. Then it's a road game against the Texas Longhorns. So it's a road game against Texas Longhorns. Texas is going to improve from where they have been in previous years. I know a lot of people keep hyping up Texas, and this is, for me, this is finally the year that Texas is quote-unquote back. Still not a playoff contender, in my opinion, is Texas. But this could be an interesting game to watch. The big thing is Iowa State has to play Texas on the road. Really, this game for me is going to come down to the passing attack. I feel like Texas is going to be able to run the football against Iowa State's defense, and Iowa State is going to be able to run the football against Texas's defense. But it's in week 12, so Iowa State hopefully could have lots of wide receivers step up and be playmakers. Of course, their tight ends are going to play like that all season. but they need wide receivers in order to beat Texas. So right now, I'm going to give this one to the Longhorns. Just feel like Iowa State's defense has got to step it up, and Sam Ehlinger really is a true dual threat quarterback. And if Iowa State can stop them, maybe they have a shot, but it's a road game for the Cyclones, and I just don't see it right now. I'm going to give Texas the win here. Then to finish off the season, Iowa State has a Friday game against West Virginia, and this should be an easy way to close out your season. It's a little bit of a calm down game after Texas. It should be a fairly easy win here for the Cyclones. All right, so now with everything being said and considered, I have the Cyclones going 8-4. So I've already mentioned, I believe that they are going to lose to Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then I think that they're going to split Iowa and TCU. So I think they're going to either win against Iowa and then lose to TCU, or beat TCU but lose to Iowa in the early season. Both those games are going to be really hard to play. It doesn't help that they, again, have to play Oklahoma State and Texas on the road. Iowa State has some really, really good talent, and they have the potential to do great things, but they have a very hard schedule. A lot of people say the Big 12 is not all that competitive. I disagree. The Big 12 is going to be really, really competitive this year. It's going to be a fun season to watch for the Cyclones. So now let's move on to the record range. What this is I take this team's worst case scenario and then their best case scenario, and that's kind of where I expect the team to be in the regular season this year. So worst case scenario for me is going to be 6-6. If they can't get a wide receiver to step up, and especially their defense can't play at a new level, Iowa State is not going to be that great this year. Again, they have a hard road. It's not going to be easy for the Cyclones to pull out away with double-digit wins this year just because of their competition, who they have to play. But as I just stated, if they can't get wide receivers to step up and they can't get their defense to play at a whole new level, I totally could see them just barely squeaking out and just barely making a bowl game. 6 losses to me in the scenario would be Iowa, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, TCU, Texas, and then probably either Baylor, Kansas State. Maybe Kansas gets them on the road, but Iowa State again. Totally could see them going 6-6 if guys just can't step up. So then their best case scenario for me, and this might shock some people, but their best case scenario for me is 11-1. I see them losing a game somewhere. Their schedule is too hard for them to go 12-0 with the talent that Iowa State has. But if their defense can step up, they could beat Iowa on the road pretty convincingly, and we could all start believing in Iowa State. Maybe if they end up beating Oklahoma State on the road, or even if they drop that game, it's not going to look like a bad loss at all. And then if they especially beat Oklahoma, it could raise some eyebrows. But as I've said so many times, Iowa State has the best, or one of the best, tight end duos in all of college football, again, with Chase Allen and Charlie Kolar. Those two guys really are big difference makers for the Cyclones. It's going to be an interesting season to watch. And if they can get through that front half of the schedule undefeated and then beat Oklahoma, they have a really good shot going 12-0, especially if they can beat Texas. I just feel like they're going to drop a game somewhere. Their schedule is pretty difficult, so they're going to lose a game somewhere, but I have them, their best case scenario, 11-1 because of their tight ends. Their tight ends are absolutely amazing, and they could be the difference makers in a lot of games they play this year. But my current prediction for the Iowa State Cyclones is 8-4. All right, so that's going to do it for my schedule preview and record prediction for the Iowa State Cyclones. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel or just enjoy the content that I put out. And if you haven't done so already, please leave a comment down below and tell me your thoughts on the Iowa State Cyclones. Said this in a lot of outros, but I truly do read through every single comment. YouTube does a weird thing where they might put some comments in my spam folder, so I apologize if your comment does that and I may or may not see it, but I truly do read through every single comment. It means a lot to me. And remember, until next time, play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.